Morning everyone, Jan Hicks of Jan Hicks Creates here. I am here today to do a little stitch with me with you and to talk a little bit more about how I stitch 1/1 and the way I do it to keep the floss from slipping in between the linen threads. Now I don't know that the way I do it is anything new or different. It's just kind of what I do. I haven't looked to see if there's a name for it, if it is something that is out there that's well known. So I'm a person that thinks that there's really nothing new under the sun. So I think that this isn't anything new, but I have had questions about it still. So I thought I would talk about it a little more. I am using the little Welcome Spring pattern that is from Little House Needleworks, and I'm going to be working on little Mr. Sheep's face there since it's a good contrast to the fabric. Please excuse anytime if my hands get in the way, I'm going to do my best to keep you in the screen, to make this easy to view. Of course, being one-on-one, that means it is wee little tiny stitches. I believe this is a 28 count piece of even weave that I had in my stash. So 1/1 on 28 count and working on the little face of the sheep. So I thought I'd start by just kind of going over what I do, or what I believe is the standard way to stitch over 2. So normally, and I stitch so that my bottom leg is the one that's leaning from, get this focused here, that's leaning from bottom left to upper right. Trying to focus this because it looks fuzzy to me in the camera, but hopefully you can see it okay. So usually bottom left to upper right over 2. So let's say we're going in here just for grins as a place to start. So I would come up in the bottom left, go down in the top right, drop down to right and come up in the bottom left, down in the upper right, drop down 2, up in the bottom left, down in the upper right. And so that creates on the back those vertical lines that we see. Doing that 1/1 means that oftentimes the threads want to slip underneath the weft or the warp, whichever it is, of the linen or the even weave. So the method that I came up with basically allows me to go under 2 on the back, which prevents that from happening. So I'm starting on this next row here. There is 5 stitches. I'm going to be going from left to right. And again, my bottom leg leans to the right. So normally, as I said, if I were doing this over 2, I would be coming up in this hole here, the bottom left. But instead, I'm going to flip this around, or I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to come up in the top right and go down in the bottom left. So kind of opposite of what I would normally do, working from left to right. So my next step to keep that consistent then is to come up again in the next squares, to come up in the next squares top right. And with the sewing method, I do it like that. So you can see that I am going underneath 2 threads of the fabric. So I cross back down then and come down in the bottom left. And I'm just going to flip my floss around there so it's out of the way. Next one, and I find that I have to kind of hold my fabric at a diagonal just so I can see those holes better. So I went down in the bottom left, I'm coming up in the upper right on the next square, down in the bottom left, get the floss out of the way, down in the bottom left, up in the upper right. How many am I doing here? Hold on. 1, 2, oops. Let's not look at the picture. Let's look at the chart. Let's get the chart out of your view, and I just bumped you. Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's 3. So down, bottom left, up, upper right, drop the needle, 4, down and up. So then we get to the end, and that was one too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's take that back out. Sometimes I get carried away. So we come to where we have to turn around, and this one is going to be just the normal straight down. No, it's not actually. So normally, to return back across that row, I would be coming up in the bottom right and down in the top left. But instead, again, I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to come up in the top left, down in the bottom right. Oh, before I do that, let me show you. I'm going to flip it over. I don't know whether you can see that well because it's, you know, everything gets kind of crowded here. So you can see kind of sort of, I don't have the vertical lines like you do here. I was going up and down the row on here instead of across. So you don't have the vertical lines here. You have lines that are slanted on the back across the two lines. And on the sheep, you can really see how that kind of ends up with kind of a woven look on the back. It's a very thick, whether you can see, there's definitely some dimension going on there whenever you do it this way. It makes for more of a padded background. But anyway, so I came up, down in the bottom right, up in the top left, down bottom right, under 2, down in the bottom right, if I can find it. That one looks like I split, didn't I? That's not a good way to start. Okay, so let me point that out. I don't know whether you can see whether it's getting too. So do you see where I went up right there on my first cross? I split the thread of the fabric. If I were more of a stickler, and if this were more of a fancy piece, I don't know, I might go back and fix that. But I will say it is not easy to take out 1/1. It would be a pain. It's not worth it. In the end, you won't really see it once I get all of the stitches in there. I will blame it on not being able to hold it as close as I want because I'm filming. How was that? All right, so the next row is another row of 5. So let's do another row. So again, I go up in the upper left corner or upper right corner. Down in the lower left. And just repeat that across the row. Does that make sense for everybody? If you have any questions, if there's something that just still isn't clear, please let me know. And you can see I actually use my thumbnail quite a bit to kind of manipulate the fabric so that hole opens up a bit and makes it easier to get the needle down through or get the needle to find where it needs to go up. So again, I'm turning around and coming back. Now, if I'm using, what I'm using here is just DMC. If I'm using one of the hand-dyed flosses, one of the overdyes, then I have to decide, I have to make a decision. And that decision is whether there is enough variegation in my floss to warrant stitching one at a time, one cross at a time, which is the standard way for stitching with overdyes, right? Or if there isn't that much variegation. Now, so the floss being used for the body of the sheep is, hold on, Shabby Sheep, Classic Colorwork Shabby Sheep. So let's get that out and look at it. If you were just looking at it on the skein, there's some variegation. You can see there's some darker and lighter gray tones in there. So is it important enough to me to keep that variegation strong or have it be more mottled? I decided, and if I want it to be more mottled, I will say stitching one square at a time over one can be a pain, because doing that you're not able as much to do over two, right? Because you're just stitching one square at a time. So let me show you. I'm going to actually, well, I'll do it with this, even though this is DMC. The ways I get around that are, and I'm just going to do it over here, even though it's a pain to take out, I'll manage. So a way to get around that is to work diagonally. So I would do this and go down. And it's harder to do the sewing method when you're doing this. But so I have the one square there, and I won't pull it too tight because that's when you really chance the floss slipping under the threads. But when I go to do my next one, I'll work diagonally, and I'll go down under 2 on the diagonal. So that is one option. I don't usually use the sewing method when just doing one at a time because it's hard to get that kind of leverage you need to get under the one thread. Okay, so that's then down diagonal under 2. Do you see that? So I went down in that hole up there, the next square down, so I'm going down in the upper left, the next square down I'm coming up in the lower left. So I've essentially crossed 2 threads diagonally. Okay? So that is one way to handle overdyed flosses when you're working 1 over 1 and you want to keep the threads from slipping. The other way would just be to do it in a straight line, which is what I did up here. So again, I'm going under 2 here. So even though I work each cross on the top individually, you see that? I'm going under 2 when I move to the next cross. Does that make sense? Okay, so I think you get the idea, right? Okay, I am going to work on taking this out while we chat. Chat. When last we spoke, I was lamenting the fact that I couldn't get a shipping date until, I'm sorry, a delivery date on our unaccompanied baggage until January 8th. So when Mike came home, we talked, and the fact that we only have reservations here at the Navy Lodge until the 6th. So when Mike came home, we talked, and we have to, or I say had to, because we had to get a bed, a queen bed for the spare bedroom, and we had to get some chairs for out on our lanai. Some fairly comfortable chairs, because I have a feeling we will be sitting out there a lot, because Hawaii, beautiful weather, lanai. Did I bring my scissors over? I didn't. Hold on one second. So we talked, and you know, if you remember, when our main shipment went out in Maryland, we were working with air mattresses and camp chairs. And they were relatively uncomfortable camp chairs, some of those gravity chairs that we had put up for sale anyways, that we weren't going to keep because we didn't find them very comfortable. So with that in mind, we figured if we went ahead and got the bed for the spare bedroom and got the chairs for the lanai, at the very least, we would have some furniture to work with. We already have the Wi-Fi set up in the apartment, which is, I know, is funny because that's one of the necessities of life for us. So we have those, and everything else we could get by with. We could figure out, you know, just use, as much as Mike and I hate to use paper plates and plastic forks, we're very much big believers in not using single-use materials, and we will probably become even more so here on the island. As much as we hate that, though, we would just use paper plates, because okay, so here's the deal. We did go out and went to the Ashley Home Store last night that's near here, and found a bed and found chairs that we were happy with, and so we bought those. They will get delivered on January 3rd. We ordered a mattress from Amazon because that's what we use on our main. And so we just ordered one for the queen bed. That will get delivered, and a box frame as well. And that will get delivered on the 4th. So we can basically start living there. We'll have bed and chairs, and we'll work with everything else. And that will just be a few days anyways, until our unaccompanied baggage shipment gets delivered on the 8th. And I truly hope, and I think Mike said, so the guaranteed delivery date for the unaccompanied baggage was January 14th. I think for the other shipment, for the main shipment, shoot, I don't remember the exact date, but I think it was before that. So anyways, we may very well have our main shipment coming about the same time anyway. But so when the cleaning lady came here, yesterday was a bad afternoon. You know, as much as I try to maintain my equilibrium with all of this nonsense going on, I was pretty fed up yesterday afternoon. I've mentioned before that one of my main frustrations with being here is that my days pretty much have to revolve around when the cleaning ladies get here to clean our room. And so, they start, I think one day they start at one end of the hall, the next day they start at the other end of the hall. We're kind of almost in the middle of the hall. So there's no way of predicting on any given day what time of day they're going to get here. And I have to be here because I have to be able to put the cats, we can't leave the cats out. They prop the door open when they're cleaning so they have easy access to their cart. And, shoot, I can't find that hole. So I have to be here so that I can put the cats in their crates whenever they get here, whenever the cleaning people get here. So yesterday, it was about 1:15, 1:30, I guess, when the lady came by. And let me tell you, Sasha was having none of it. He was not a happy kitty. He growled. He just balked, totally balked. And Sasha's a 15-pound cat. He's not a small cat. So, I got him shoved in there. He turned around and tried to run back out again, and I basically had to shut the crate door in his face. It just, Nina's just like, okay, whatever, put me in the crate. I'll just lay here quietly. And of course, Sasha just cries the whole time. And starts like scratching at the door and throwing his weight against the sides. It's nerve-wracking, and my nerves had already been racked. So with all that, with Mike and I just decided let's go ahead, let's not try, because our first thought was go over to the front desk and see if we'd be able to extend our time. And the thought just makes me sick to my stomach. When I tell him that I am like on the verge of tears half the time during the day, because they're just days that are hard. He's like, oh, don't be like that. And it's like, yeah, well, you're not the one sitting here all day. And then, the day's gone, and I've spent the whole day practically in the room. So, yeah, that's the plan. We are hopefully going to get out of here, and that will be a week from yesterday that the mattresses will come. Or is that the third? Was a week from a week from yesterday is when the bed and the chairs are being delivered, I think. Something like that. Anyways, we're taking things into our own hands, and we're getting out of here. So that is that. I'm ready. We had a interesting little event, I guess is what they called it, here this morning. So, they have loudspeakers all across Ford Island, and all across I guess all military bases do. That's what they broadcast the colors on, and every morning and every evening, and any announcements. Well, announcement came in. Let me just tell you. So you can see how thick this is getting. One of the downsides is, and it's funny because I didn't have this kind of trouble that much working on the 28 count that I used for Harbor Haven, the linen. I don't know whether the holes were bigger, but I'm having a heck of a time. And actually, maybe, I don't know, it's the same type of needle. I'm having a heck of a time finding the holes, and so that's why I'm not doing the sewing method as much, because it's just kind of fighting me a bit. But anyway, so this morning I'm sitting here. I have the window open in the morning because it's so nice out, and an announcement comes over the PA system for Pearl Harbor Hickam Joint Base that there has been an event over in the pier area of Pearl Harbor, and that they want all personnel to avoid Pier 10. Yeah, I'm curious to know what happened, what kind of event happened. So that emergency, they wanted to have the way cleared so that emergency vehicles could access the area. Now, Pearl 10 may be on the other side. I don't think it's here on Ford Island. I think it's probably on the other side of the water, over where the actual Pearl Harbor piers are, the main ones for the working Navy and Hickam Air Force Base. But yeah, so that was kind of an interesting episode this morning. Hold on, let me count. So I have that one there, and then I have 3 more. Let's see what else. Oh, yesterday, so after dinner, we went to the Safeway that was closest to the furniture store. We actually went there after the furniture store. And I know you're probably tired of hearing about my grocery expeditions, but let me tell you, when you have to eat gluten-free, it matters. Going to the grocery store is often a challenge, but I was absolutely thrilled by what I found in Safeway. Now, we had been to the Safeway up in Mililani when we first got here. Again, just checking out what stores carried what gluten-free products. And in the Safeway in Mililani, they had one huge section, like a whole aisle of their freezer section was empty. Like they were obviously changing over something. And I think what they did was they changed over to a lot more gluten-free meal type of options. There were some brands in there I'd never heard. I was happy to see that brands like Lean Cuisine and Smart One and I don't know all the different ones now have gluten-free options. I mean, I was amazed. But I squealed like a little girl when I saw a brand called Saffron Road had chicken biryani. Now, they also had chicken tikka masala and chana masala and all the good things. One of our favorite, well, probably our favorite ethnic cuisine is Indian. And Mike makes a mean chicken biryani in the Instant Pot. I mean, we have it pretty much every other week because it is so good. So we've been missing our chicken biryani. So when I saw that, in the grocery store, I mean, I literally squealed and just started grabbing. So yeah, it won't be nearly as good as what Mike makes in the Instant Pot, but we're having chicken biryani for dinner tonight. And that will make my heart happy and my belly happy. So I love me some Indian food. And hopefully we will be in the apartment soon. Well, I told you the story. We'll be there in a week. Hopefully this week will pass by quickly. For those that are interested, I did get on the Sunsets and Sangria channel yesterday. I did get our video of our walk up Diamond Head. And I call it a walk because it is, it wasn't a hike like you needed. Now, I was going to say that you needed hiking boots, but my hiking shoes definitely were better than the flip-flops that some people were wearing. Of course, the people that were wearing flip-flops probably had like 20 or 30 years on me, so. But anyways, if you want to see more footage from Diamond Head, head on over to Sunsets and Sangria. I will be getting the footage from Alani up today, but I won't schedule that to actually be viewable until next week. So the other thing I wanted to do is give a little shout out to Kyle, and he has a challenge, Stitching in Sound. He has a challenge about saying his last name, so I'm going to give this a whirl. Kyle Riekmeyer from Stitching in Sound. He has offered, he's been doing some tags for floss tubers to use for their Stitch With Me videos. So I'm not going to use it on this one because I think I probably am at 30 minutes, so I've been rambling on quite long enough. But thank you, Kyle, for that. I will be using them in future Stitch With Me's. You can count on that. Look, little sheep is starting to get a face. So cute. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and I've saved this for last because I think it deserves us going out on this knowledge reminder, keep it in our hearts and minds. Many of you probably have already heard that Yvonne Snelling's Night Owl Stitcher here on Floss Tube has lost her husband. He goes to Houston, I guess, every week for contract work, and he did not return back when he was supposed to on the 19th, and they've been looking for him. And she put up a post, I believe it was just yesterday, that they did find them and that he is gone. I don't know how, what happened. I have no details other than the fact that Yvonne has lost her husband. And I put on her post, I have no words, because what do you say that can possibly make something like that better? There just really isn't anything. It's impossible to think about losing your spouse any time. But around Christmas, losing a loved one just is always so much harder. So Yvonne, I know you're not watching this, and you probably are going to be incommunicado, out of things for a while, but I want you to know that I am thinking and praying for you and your family. My heart goes out to you. I can't even imagine. So anyways, everyone, if you would just keep Yvonne in your thoughts and her family, in your thoughts and prayers, if you're a praying person, surround her with love, surround her with all the good things, because Lord knows she is going to need them. It's devastating losing a spouse. It's not something I can even think of without, as you can tell, tearing up. I have several good friends in Sarasota who have been through that, and watching them go through that it's just so painful and so sad. So anyway, in this holiday time of love and gratitude, just keep Yvonne in your thoughts. And with that, I'm going to check out. I hope you found that useful. I hope you could see things clearly enough. I know if I get too close, it actually blurs out. Such is, well, that's not too bad. But anyway, let's see if I can get it to focus on the back a little bit. So you can see how it's kind of this matted. You can see the diagonal lines, but you can see how it's a very thick mat compared to just the up and down look of going over two, like you usually get when going over two. So hope that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions. If I can clarify anything, I will. Next video will be on Monday, where I will be talking about using Knit Companion for, look, now it's all out of whack because it's distance. There we go. Knit Companion for cross stitch. So I know that there are several of you who are interested in that. Until then, guys, have a great weekend. Take care of each other, take care of your families, and always cherish them. Until then, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.